Hi, this is Doug Roberts. Welcome again to Amazing Leaders Podcast. I am, as part of my C-suite consulting company, Rocket Leaders, I have worked with over 50 CEOs, and they never cease to inspire me. And this podcast is, the sole purpose of this podcast is to give you a glimpse into their lives. What their companies, why they built them, and what drives them. And today I am just delighted to welcome Whitney Vosburgh. Whitney is co-founder of Brand New Purpose, really impressive branding company for purposeful branding, particularly in this modern age. But not only that, Whitney is a leadership instructor. He's also written not one, not two, but 4 books coming out. Two already out, I guess. And so we are just delighted to have a conversation today with Whitney. Whitney Vosburgh, welcome.
Well, thank you. A pleasure to be here.
Where do we begin? You have so much going on. You've accomplished so much, and you touch a lot of people. So tell us about Brand New Purpose.
Sure. I worked in corporate America for decades, decided to go to divinity school, got a Master of Art in Social Change, wrote a thesis on developing community in the second half of life.
Wow.
And I came out and thought, my background is brand marketing. Brand is all about purpose.
Yeah.
But many companies with management by quarterly results and short-term focus and what have you have largely lost sight of that. Consumer hasn't, but the C-suite has. Wall Street has. So not only is there the purpose of brand is purpose. But now with all that, what's going on in the world and the change in generational outlooks, for example, my daughter, like me, came out of art school and graduated as a graphic designer, but she calls herself a green graphic designer. And that's the point, which is that there is a new brand purpose. There's a new purpose of being purposeful. And there's greenwashing and whitewashing, but there actually is a very sincere, authentic desire for more positive purpose in the world at an individual, organizational, political, global level, from the smallest to the largest. And so I decided that my purpose is to help others search for and share their purpose, which I describe as your unique gift, whether it's you're a person, a company of one or a company of a million. It doesn't matter. You have to have an overlap between the personal purpose and the organizational purpose, because if there's no overlap, you're on the wrong job.
Right. And so often, at least the traditional CEO we don't understand that. We came up in the world when it was all about shareholders and business, et cetera. Do you find that a challenge? And now with millennials and younger people, we're being reminded that no, it's about impacting the world. Are you finding that a challenge when you go into some of these C-suites?
Well, yes. I went in as interim chief marketing officer for a Fortune 10 company. I proved to them beyond any doubt whatsoever that they could do so much better by doing good, by doing things purposefully.
Mm-hmm.
And not only did they not embrace that, they didn't even go back to what they had been doing. They actually went backwards.
Wow.
And if companies of that size continue to do that, they're not going to be around for much longer.
No, no, they're not going to attract talent,
No.
right? That's the thing. Uh,
Yes.
that's surprising, because I'm hearing in the press, at least, I'm hearing a lot of these CEOs who are jumping in and saying, yes, we want to change the world, anywhere from, of course, Salesforce has always been this way, IBM, you name it. But that's not your broad experience.
My experience is, sadly, that typically baby boomer C-suite executives
Mm-hmm.
have one thing in mind: their golden parachute.
Ah, wow.
And basically, I need to stay on for the next X many months or years, and then I'm going to bail with my golden parachute, and to hell with the rest.
Wow. So how do you approach, so obviously, well, how do you approach those companies? Or obviously you have found companies who are taking this purposeful approach to branding. How do you approach it when you do?
You have to look for allies wherever you find them.
Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, it's not going by title or hierarchy, it's finding natural leaders, people who are self-anointed, self-appointed, saying,
Right,
I am the leader of whatever is important to me based on my purpose and how it matches or overlaps with that of the organizational purpose. So
okay,
I'm stepping up and taking leadership for myself, my products, my team. And these people don't necessarily necessarily that senior or have that much tenure, or they're high up in they're all over the place.
right,
These are the people who are the future of your organization.
right. And are you approaching them, Whitney, from a leadership perspective? Because I'm wondering if how much of your work is done with marketing on the branding side of these companies, and how much of your work is done. I assume that in your last statement, you're talking about finding natural leaders in the company.
Yeah, in my nominal expertise, my subject matter expertise is branding and marketing. But I've, the last 10 years, more often than not, I'm hired to provide a leadership presence and perspective.
Okay.
In other words, my clients are high up. They've been around for a long time. They're very senior. They're well respected. They're well liked, but they're not necessarily leaders.
Right.
And they're brilliant at what they do, but they just don't have that leadership presence. So it's a combination of what my subject matter expertise is, and just a much broader organizational leadership
Okay.
development, business strategy meets
Right.
marketing strategy meets common sense.
Okay. So that sounds powerful. So you are working um, with the business leader to make him or her more effective as leaders, because they're not. And how do you approach that?
With humility.
Okay. Right. And do you, um, and then you typically will branch out from there, and they say, hey, Whitney, I am really impressed with kind of where you've taken me in this journey. I'd like for you to talk to some of my other leaders.
Yes, what I tried to do is, and I learned this early on, which is you can't always make the organization or the division successful.
Right.
But you can almost always, if there's a good fit, make your client their immediate team and their immediate organization successful.
Right.
And then that sometimes has a trickle up effect.
Right. Right. That is really interesting. And it sounds like you're dealing in a world of the Fortune 200, Fortune 100, or do you also do work with the small and middle market?
I go all the way from small Silicon Valley startups all the way to Fortune
Okay.
companies.
Okay.
For me, it's just a matter of scale and complexity. The
Right.
problems are basically the same.
I couldn't agree with you more. Everyone thinks that, um, wow, when I approach companies, say to be in my peer group, CEOs will say, well, I'm just a small company. How can I have benefit and help others in a peer group? And I say, well, we all have the same issues, right? Just at a different scale, but they're exactly the same issues. And many of them involve people. uh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. It must be fun to approach a startup after having approached a political environment of, say, a Fortune 100.
Their politics of startups can be just as political as
Okay. Okay.
Fortune 20 companies. They're just different kinds of politics.
Right. And
Uh,
very different types of leaders too.
yes, yes. Well, except I work with a lot of tech companies
Okay.
and tech startups. Many of them are engineers.
Yeah, true.
It's either engineers, sales types, or financial types.
And the engineers are probably very coachable, are they not?
They're open.
Yeah, right, right. Often when I've worked with them, they're coachable, whether or not they make the progress that we're looking for, but they're quite open to how can I get better. They're highly analytical. They take an approach of a very analytical nature to becoming better leaders,
Yep.
which isn't often the way we need to do it.
Mhm.
But it's great to see that kind of intensity and conscientiousness, that they take the job. And how much of your work is in branding with brand new purpose, and how much is in leadership? Or do
Well,
or do you?
the whole, it's all a blend because
Okay, that's what I
I
thought.
work with brand leaders and leading brands,
Right,
uh, either as aspirationally, or they actually are, or they were. Because to me, you are either a startup or a startup,
right,
and you are either one person or a group of two or more.
right,
Yes, there is the scale, there's complexity, and what have you, but it basically boils down to those two things.
right.
One person or two or more, a startup or restartup.
Interesting. What is the common challenge that these folks face in their leadership?
FUD,
Fun.
FUD, fear, uncertainty, and
Oh,
doubt.
okay, got it. Yeah, it's lonely. It's lonely at the top, right? Who do I talk to? I'm really unsure of myself, but I can't act like I'm unsure of myself.
That's
Uh,
why coaches and peer groups are so important.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you started Brand New Purpose when?
2013.
Okay. And where do you want to take it? What is your vision for your firm?
It's basically it's an LLC that provides me with a legal shell.
Okay.
Uh, so it's not really a company per se.
Right.
It's just me and a very large distributed team of experts who it's like a Hollywood production team. We
Okay.
come together. We work on a project. We disband. We reband. It's just a constant flow.
Right. Is so these four books, what's that all about? I mean,
Well, I co-authored two books called "Work the Future Today,"
great.
Finding Your Path to Purpose, Passion, and Profit.
Wow.
And it's about the shift from the old triple bottom line of profit, people, planet, with a singular focus on the shareholder, to the new triple bottom line of planet, people, profit. Why? Because if there's no planet, there's no people. No people, no profit. It's very that simple. And of course, there's the focus, is now on stakeholders, which includes the stakeholder.
Right. Right. How is it done?
It's gotten me, like today, one way or another, more speaking gigs than I know what to do with.
Fantastic. And who do you think it's being read by? You have a sense of that?
People who are thirsting for, well, they're more likely to vote for Bernie than Donald.
Okay. Okay. I get it. So younger?
Not necessarily. It's just people who are curious about how to bridge the chasm between what was and what will be, and how to move from here to there.
Great.
Because it's about the integration of head, heart, and hands.
Beautiful.
Your head is the home of your why, your purpose, your unique gift. Your heart is the home of your who and where, your community. Those who most benefit from sharing your purpose, your gift effectively. And then how do you best share with your hands, share your gift, your unique purpose with them?
Beautiful. I'm interested in your experience in writing a book. So it's daunting to most people. What was your experience once you sat down to do it?
Well, I decided I wanted to write my first book 2008. I decided to go back to school, to go to graduate school, so that I would have a structure and I would write a thesis at the end. And that's what I did. So I came up with this thesis and thought, I'm not quite ready for that. And so I started Brand New Purpose. I met my co-author. We co-authored 2 books, Work the Future Today. And it's just now, this year, that I'm going to bring out my first solo book, which is based on my graduate thesis.
Okay.
So that was one thing in terms of being in a structured environment where you are writing all the time.
I see.
And break it up into as many small bits as possible so that you can combine it.
Right.
With the first book Charlie and I wrote, we wrote 16 blogs and then combined them into a book and then had a introduction and a conclusion.
I see.
So it's just breaking it up into small parts.
This time around, it was you solo, fitting it in to a busy schedule. So how'd you do it?
Well, I've only been working on it since 2008.
Okay.
It's just that once you have the discipline of regularly creating something, whatever it is, writing a book or something artful or crafts or what have you, it's about, I think the hard part is knowing what to put in and what to leave out.
Right.
That is the hardest part.
Yeah. Particularly the what to leave out.
Yep.
Because we've got a lot of knowledge we want to put in there, right? Yep. And keeping it as simple as you can is what I find to be the most difficult.
And just realize that there comes a point where, yes, you can always make it better, but it's just time to cut it off and save the changes for the next edition.
There you go. Are you on a new edition of your first book, or is that?
I'm going to bring out a second edition of the first book in the autumn.
Okay, and again, for our listeners, your books are give us the titles, please.
Yes, It's called Work the Future Today,
Okay,
and they're found on Amazon.
great. Is that your first book?
The first two books,
Okay, got it.
Work the Future Today, and the other one's called Work the Future Today 2019 Pocket Pal. So the first
Okay.
one is a larger book, and it's basically an atlas of change, whereas
Mhm.
the other one is a Pocket Pal. It's small, it fits in your pocket, and that's more like a guidebook. You take that along with you.
Oh, fantastic. And your second book that you're writing about, what's its name and when will it be out?
It's called Turning Gray into Great.
Okay. Ah,
Getting bolder, not just older. So
get
it's about becoming more purposeful 50 and up.
beautiful. So we baby boomers, how do we become more actualized in this modern world? I often hear from, my clients lament about the millennials and how they want more than just, um, how they don't follow orders, how they want purpose, how they want passion in their jobs. They want to know more about where they stand. Uh, in essence, how high maintenance they are. And my response to them is, yeah, they're making us become real leaders and managers. They're not just taking orders, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they're difficult. I just say they're highly determined.
I think they're asking us to be what we need to be, which is inspirational leaders. We're not accustomed to that. We took orders, right? We saluted, uh, and now it was all about the shareholder, in our era, and now it's really, as you mentioned, it's about much more than that. Stakeholders, including the environment.
Well, it's about the survival, at the very least, of life forms, including human beings. And and then it's up from there. To go from merely surviving to thriving.
Yeah. As we start to draw to a close, what do you want to tell the audience? I mean, what would I, the CEO, who's gray, um, and I need to adapt to this new environment and build a brand of purpose? What do you want to say to me?
Well, I would say to anyone of any age who's interested in becoming more purposeful is to slow down, spend less time in your head, travel the long distance, especially men, of that 18 inches from head to heart, and then another 18 inches down to your gut, because we have brain tissue in our head, our heart, and our gut.
Mm-hmm.
And connect your intellect with your emotional, with your intuitive. When you're in full alignment, you can go head, heart, hands, in terms of your why, your who, and your where, and then your how.
I'm going to take your advice. I need to. And it's excellent advice. Slowing down, connecting, and aligning. That is a gem. And
Becoming more intimate with oneself.
okay, thank you. And I want to thank you for participating in our podcast. You are immensely accomplished as well as interesting.
Thank you.
And I hope to be speaking with you again soon.
Yeah, if you ever find yourself on the other side of the bay, look me up. Love to have lunch.
Okay, thank you.